Welcome to AHEPA Senior Living, a podcast dedicated to introducing seniors and their families to exceptional care and community provided by AHEPA Senior Living, where we'll also go behind the scenes and talk with people who make this happen. Join us as we explore the stories, insights, and experiences of those who make AHEPA Senior Living a place to call home. I'm Olga Karloutsos, and this is AHEPA Senior Living. In today's episode, I have the pleasure of sitting down with Steve Beck, CEO and President of AHEPA Senior Living. Steve has successfully led companies in 3 industries: hospitality, hotels, senior living, and multifamily. I'm going to speak with Steve on how his broad experience has contributed to the growth and construction of the new AHEPA Senior Living communities and assisted living houses for our loved ones. Let's dive into our conversation. Welcome, Steve. I'm thrilled to have you on the show.
Thank you, Olga. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'd like to talk with you a little bit about your personal background and what led you to the role of serving as CEO and President of AHEPA Senior Living.
I grew up in Seattle, Washington, and when I lived there, Seattle was a different city than what it is today. It was Boeing, a logging town, and Microsoft was just kind of getting started. When I graduated from college, I went to work for Westin Hotels and Resorts in downtown Seattle. And back then, Westin was one of the top 100 companies to work for because they invested time and training into their people.
How did working in hospitality prepare you for this role?
I think when I kind of look back, with Westin, I basically learned how to get people to do the things that you want them to do. Leadership was really important. They believed in training. And so I was kind of on a track to be a general manager. When I started with the company, my dream was to be a general manager at a swanky European hotel. But that did not really come to fruition. They ended up transferring me to Detroit, Michigan. I love Detroit, but it certainly wasn't Sweden. And then, after a year or so, a couple of years, they moved me to Stamford, Connecticut, and then Chicago. So when I left the hotel industry, Olga, I found my passion in senior living. And I found myself on the ground floor of Brookdale Senior Living. We grew from 4 properties to just about 100 through development and acquisitions.
Wow, it makes sense why AHEPA Senior Living would recruit you. You're such an asset. So what did you learn from that experience?
Well, I think my biggest takeaway from the experience with Brookdale Senior Living was how important sales and marketing is to the success of a company. We kind of had a philosophy of the more you do, the more you get. And also, you have to be really good at what you do. And what I mean by that is if you're the best in your asset class or the best property amongst your competitors, people are going to pick you, and even they'll pay a little more if you can prove that you do a better job than the other properties around you. After Brookdale, I found myself at Whiteco Residential, where I was the president of a multifamily apartment company, and we built and operated Class A and affordable apartments across the country. And I think what I learned there was when to build, when to hold, and when to sell. But it was a great experience for me. And so today I'm back in working for the industry that I'm most passionate about with AHEPA Senior Living and taking care of people who need our support, need our care, and need exceptional, environments. As president and CEO of this great company, we manage 91 properties in 19 states, soon to be 93, and we have more people on the wait list than we do apartments available.
I am so excited for the expansion. Can you share some insights into your early life and upbringing?
Sure. My dad served in the U.S. Army, and he was stationed in Germany. And one day, he goes into a restaurant and meets my mom. My mom was born in the Ukraine, who also was in Germany at the time, sitting at that restaurant. And that's how they met. My mom didn't speak English. My dad didn't speak Ukrainian, but somehow they found each other and ended up married for almost 60 years. And that was, I think, kind of a unique experience for me and different than the other people that I grew up with.
I love, love, love that story. It's super heartwarming. My parents too met young and have remained happily married for over 50 years now. It's a blessing. What is your most memorable experience about growing up?
So I think growing up, I had two older sisters, a little brother, and we were always together. We were a very close family and we did things together. But the probably most memorable part of my life was my dad worked very hard. He was an entrepreneur. He worked 7 days a week and long hours, particularly on Saturdays and Sundays. And there were times when I wanted him, to be with us and he couldn't be. But I also remember we always had dinner together and we're always waiting for my dad to get home so we could sit down and eat.
I can see you've brought these values of love and respect for others and how you treat others and your employees. So, what inspires you to do what you do to pursue a career in senior living and housing?
What makes me passionate or feel great is when you build relationships with people, you get to know them and you can help them. It gives you a great sense of pride and it makes you feel like, you've really helped somebody. And I believe that the Greek community wants to give back. And my experiences in my life kind of fit into Hellenism. I think working for AHEPA Senior Living was probably the best decision I ever made. And I'm really excited about what we do here. We help people that need great services and a great place to live. And that's what really is a differentiator between us and our competition is the people that work in our building really truly care about what they do and they care about the people that live in our communities. The other thing we have is we have the chapters that are in the housing boards, which have the leadership of the Greek housing community. And, they do things for the residents. They help with landscaping and gardening in the springtime. We do summer barbecues, Thanksgiving dinners, Christmas dinners, and it is truly a community and not just bricks and mortar. And I think that's part of the reason why we have over, 6,000 units and we have more people on our waiting list than units. If we could build more, I'm sure we
You
could
can
fill
fill it
more,
for sure.
and we could still maintain that wait list.
Sounds like you all have such a wonderful community. It's clear that you're all doing the right thing. And one of the reasons why I know that is because you're also funded by HUD. Can you discuss the significance of HUD 202 funding and how it impacts the communities?
So HUD is a great partner. Most of our properties were built 20, 30 years ago. And back then you could build a community with the capital advance. Today, it probably costs 3 times more than what the capital advance we get from HUD. And that's not to say that HUD isn't doing a good job. They basically just time has kind of moved on and things are different today. So the capital stack today is, we absolutely need HUD and we need the capital advance.
Right.
But we also fund these projects with bonds, state issued bonds, and then LIHTC dollars, which is low income housing tax credits,
Okay.
which help put the financial package together and it allows us to build a property today. And so things are much different today than what they used to be. But HUD is a great partner of ours.
So, with the cost to build low-income senior apartments tripling at this stage, what other challenges are you facing in planning new construction?
So, as you think about low income senior housing, there is a real shortage today. There's probably 7 million units that are needed on the market today, and HUD can't do it by themselves. And if you think about, HUD is a federally funded program and they're doing everything they can, to put money into this program, but there needs to be other revenue sources to build these properties. So I think one of the challenges that HUD faces, and I think the industry faces, is developers won't take the risk to build multifamily for low-income seniors unless there's a way to make money. And I think that is probably why, the LIHTC tax credit program came into play. But I think they need to understand that they can't do it themselves and that developers won't do it unless there is, a margin for them to be able to sustain their company and move forward and grow.
Well, that makes sense. Switching gears. So, Steve, can you tell me a little bit about some of the senior advocacy groups you've worked with in the past?
We try and stay connected to the senior advocacy groups. Leading Age kind of comes to mind. We have Leading Age of Indiana. They have a chapter for every state. And then there's the National Leading Age. And we go to their meetings on an annual basis. And we also use them locally when we need advice or help. And it's a great group to be a part of. There's also Argentum. And we also partner with McKnight's Senior Housing News. And whenever we have something we want the world to know about, we'll partner with them. And they're really good about helping us get information out.
That's fantastic. How do you envision senior care and housing evolving within the next decade?
Great question. In a couple of years, in 2026, the first baby boomer will turn 80. And if you think about that, the saying is life begins at 80, but that means our industry is going to explode. And our niche is really the affordable side of senior housing, but we're also looking at doing some market rate senior housing, which I think would be, we have the sales and operating platform to do that. But I believe there's going to be a real need, particularly for really good operators. And we're, anxious to continue to grow and to be part of that. But I would also say that, health and wellness, the companies that can really do this well are going to be successful. And what do I mean by health and wellness? It's more than, just the care that goes on through your nursing department. To me, health and wellness means physical and mental health. It means nutrition. And it means, having not only the care available in your particular community, but also nearby and having those resources. People will live longer if they eat properly and if they take care of their body and exercise. And so there's something to be said about, health and wellness. And I think the companies that adopt that and are successful at providing those services are going to be on top of this wave of the baby boomers. We do chair aerobics and Tai Chi and yoga and things like that are so important to the health and wellness of seniors, in our country.
Well, thank you so much, Steve, for joining us. It was a pleasure. You're awesome. I know you'll be coming back on the show often, and I really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you, Olga. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for joining this episode of the AHEPA Senior Living Spotlight. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell for future episodes, where we'll continue to explore these stories and experiences that make AHEPA Senior Living a place where seniors thrive. And until next time, take care.